Well, good afternoon and good morning, I guess, depending on where you're at in the country. Welcome to our System-Link Toolkit webinar for today. We're going to be going through a demo portion of it, just from from an agenda standpoint. Let's start there. Logistics-wise, since this is a webinar, it's not conducive to be interactive. If you have any questions as we're going through the slides and the demo, please put them in the chat, and we'll make sure to save some time at the end. But we're going to go through I've got a few slides just to talk about SystemLink, some of the benefits of our toolkit. But we're going to spend most of the time today showing you the product, and Dan Miller is going to kind of walk through all the latest and greatest features that you can do with SystemLink Toolkit. From an introduction standpoint, I'm Randy Kenny. I'm Guide Product Manager here, as well as one of our consulting managers. We have Dan Miller, who is one of our senior technical consultants and is the principal architect of the toolkit product itself. We originally developed SystemLink Toolkit, well, it's got to be 20 plus years ago now, Dan, I think.
Yeah.
For our own internal developers, as we had customers that were looking to take on SystemLink projects or projects that we felt would be a good fit for SystemLink. We originally developed it, to use internally, and then some of our customers saw it, and they really wanted to start using it for their internal purposes, and so that's when we productized it, probably 11 years or so again now. So it's been a lot of enhancements through the years. It's a very robust, widely used product across the XA customer base. So look forward to showing it to you today. So just from SystemLink itself, let me start with that. You may or may not know, it is, I call Integrator a three-legged stool. Integrator is your development framework for XA. You've got PowerLink, NetLink, and SystemLink are the three legs that make up Integrator. So obviously PowerLink is your client-server interface, NetLink is your browser-based interface, and then SystemLink is the other interface that via programs and outside systems, we can talk and update files within XA. And the beauty is all three of them follow the exact same edits and business logic. So if you are putting data in via a PowerLink screen or a NetLink screen, the same edits that would get applied, say if you were going to get invalid item number coming back from one of those to the screen, SystemLink is going to follow the exact same edits and business logic and produce the same error coming back. So it's really beneficial, especially in the early years. It wasn't really well documented. There weren't a lot of examples out there. So hence, one of the reasons we built the toolkit was to make using SystemLink, because it is very powerful, make it more usable for customers. So it does enforce all the XA security rules, maintenance history. Again, think of it, it's just as if you were entering the data line by line through a PowerLink screen, except we can do it in a much more efficient manner using spreadsheets and offline load files and things like that. So SystemLink itself is and has been a very powerful tool within the XA tool set, but you do need some way to manage it, and that's where our toolkit comes into play. So what our toolkit does, and you'll see this, is it really makes using SystemLink much easier. Initially, we developed it for RPG developers and whatnot that didn't have a lot of XML knowledge, because everything SystemLink related is XML based. You create a response of what you want to do. You have to format it and get it in the right XML document, if you will, to send to SystemLink. It then takes that request, does its thing, and sends back a response that is also an XML document that you then have to know how to parse and look for errors and things like that. So our toolkit does all of that for you. It creates that request based on some mappings, and we'll show you how all that's done. And then it takes that request or the response coming back and parses it out, looks for errors, and if there are any errors, it shows it back to the users in a PowerLink screen. So you'll see all of that as we get into the demo. It also allows you to group logical objects together. So you think of a customer order with a bunch of line items and ship tos and whatnot. We can put that and group it as a transaction set and send it through to System-Link. And if any part of it fails, it'll back out the whole thing. So you won't get half of an order, half of a customer order or purchase order or manufacturing order, if you will. So it manages that and gives you some data integrity. We can process very large numbers of transactions by breaking it down into data queues. And again, we'll talk to that and show it to you. We've got some customers who are processing in the EDI transactions coming in the hundreds of thousands on a nightly basis, and couldn't do it without using some of the techniques that we've incorporated into our toolkit to break that down and make it more manageable. Error management is a very powerful feature here, as I alluded to earlier. You're going to see the errors via PowerLink screen. The users will see it or NetLink screen. They can see exactly what the error is, go fix the data, and resubmit the job. And we'll show you examples of that as well. Lastly, on this screen, we do have an add-on module that will essentially allow you to replace offline loads and use System-Link instead of the green screen processing that you do today. So if you're using offline loads, I'm sure you've heard from Infor that at some point in time, they're going to go away. They're promising by release 11. They said the same thing about release 10, so we'll see. But at some point, that's old technology that's no longer going to be supported, and System-Link is the path forward to do the offline load type processing. So with our add-on module, if you have that in place, you won't even know if Infor takes away an offline load because you've already switched over to using System-Link. Okay, so as I said, you don't need to know XML. You just code the data parts, and this is where we're going to focus some of the demo time today on, is how you can take an Excel spreadsheet, map the columns that are in a spreadsheet into the attributes, the XA object and attributes that you want to actually update, and then process that spreadsheet. And you don't have to do a single line of coding to do it. It's purely a mapping exercise. So we're going to show you that, and there's other things as you're creating this XML that you're going to send to System-Link, things like session handles and work handles and whatnot. And depending on how you create these requests, it can be either very efficient or not very efficient as far as how you submit these to System-Link. So within the toolkit, we really optimized through our years of knowledge of how to optimize System-Link. We've built that knowledge into the toolkit. So as we're creating these things, it processes as fast as it can. Let me put it that way. So really what Dan's going to show you today, anything that you can see, that you can click on, whether it be objects or views or lists, these are all what you get with the toolkit. So when you install it, you get this application card with these objects on it, and it really allows you to manage System-Link itself. By itself, it's kind of a black hole, if you will. You send it a request, it magically sends back a response, and you got to know what to do with it. With the toolkit, we handle all of that for you and show you if there's any errors, and makes it easy to actually use System-Link, which is very powerful, to update XA data, objects, and attributes. So with that, Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you. And you presenter. All right, you should have it now.
Okay, you can see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name's Dan Miller, and I'm going to give you a tour here around the System-Link Toolkit. Now let's start out with a project we might have. So you're in IT and you're given a spreadsheet, and the user says, can you update these two fields in the item revision file object? And in order to do that, for each row, we would need to do this through System-Link, which is the approved way to process any file. you would need to create the following XML document. That looks like fun, right? So we decided early on that there must be a better way of coming up with this code rather than just keying it in. So we came up with the System-Link Toolkit, which is middleware, which will take your spreadsheet and convert it to this XML, and we can send it to System-Link and get a response back. I just saw this morning that Robert Russell, the product manager for XA at the conference, said you should always use System-Link to update data in the XA database and never just go to the file. So that's what we're doing. Now, in order for us to map this, to use this spreadsheet, we need to map the columns from the spreadsheet to these property path values. Those are attribute names. See where it says user field, code A, code B, well, close, yeah. We need to map to those. So we do that in the toolkit, and the toolkit uses PowerLink as its interface for everything. So we're going to go into the toolkit, and we have a list of objects here. We call these System-Link Toolkit objects, and these objects contain mapping between the spreadsheet and the spreadsheet and System-Link. I can talk. So we go in and we find the object, start a new object. I'm calling this one Demo XL Dan, and we look up the domain class. So we need to identify the object that it is that we are going to be mapping. And in this case, it's the item revision. So we select the item revision, and then we go to the attribute card, and the toolkit uses System-Link to go out and get all the attributes we might use to map to this item revision object. Now we could just sit and go back and forth between the spreadsheet. Site is column A. I don't have a very good memory. I'm getting on in years, so I like to be presented with those columns in my PowerLink session, so I don't have to keep going back and forth between the spreadsheet. So I'm going to use a little feature here to get the column headings from the spreadsheet. So I've already attached the spreadsheet to the object, and that is right. Here's my spreadsheet. I opened it twice. I'm too impatient. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to say, go get the column headings from that spreadsheet. And that gives me a little message to know that it's going to do that. And I do a refresh, and there's my column headings in PowerLink. And now I can map the columns to the attributes in XA. So I go with quick change, and I do a lookup here. I'm doing site, so I select site and click this to bring in the details. And we've got this set to auto advance, so we're just going to walk through item. Yeah, this is a nice manageable size spreadsheet. Yeah. Some of the consultants give me spreadsheets with 20, 30 columns in them. It's like, give me a break. Revision. And then the type is going to be user. It's going to be user field, user code B. Look at that attribute name, user field code B. And System-Link is very particular about not only format, but also case. So the upper and lower case has to match exactly when we're doing system. That's why I always tell people, always look up your value. Don't try to key it in, because you'll get it wrong and then it's going to reject your whole transaction. So switch A. Okay. And that's basically all there is to map it. We set up a load setting, we call it, that defines how it's going to run and what spreadsheet it's going to use. So for this object, we've set up a load setting that says use demo Excel item. It tells us the worksheet it's going to work with, and then the object, which we just defined, that's going to process this. We have this set up so you can do multiple objects at once. So if you're creating item revisions and you need to also create an enterprise item, you can do both from the same row in the same spreadsheet. Yeah. Now, once we get the object and the load set up, we have a couple ways we can process the spreadsheet. One popular way is just to drag the spreadsheet into an IFS folder that represents that load setting. Let's see if this is still responding. Okay, so I'm going to, I don't drag too good, so I'm going to upload my spreadsheet. Here's demo XLS. Okay. So what you can do is set up a shortcut for your user on their desktop or in a folder so they can take their spreadsheet and either copy it in or drag it in. Once we get it in there, all our processing goes through groups. A group might be a spreadsheet, and we see it's already picked up the spreadsheet and it's processing it. So it's System-Link isn't terribly fast, especially not on this box, but we're going a transaction at a time. As the transactions are going through, we can look at them. So I'm going to look at this transaction, and we can see the XML that was created. This is just for, we typically just use this during development, or it's not something the user would look at, but we can see the request and a response. Now, if we go over here, let's see how we're, oh, so here's one that had an error. So we can look that up. And there's an error card here. The update or delete was unsuccessful because the specified record was not found. And then we have this load set up so that if there is an error, we get an email. So I'm going to go in here. There's my email. I can click on that. And we can bring up the group in NetLink, and I can look at the group or look at the transaction that was in error. I didn't want that. See, I'm used to, oh, and there's the error right there. Now, the way the toolkit works is it keeps track of what went through and what didn't go through. So if I had the wrong item number on that row, let's say, I could fix that item number, reattach a spreadsheet and submit it, and the toolkit's smart enough to skip all the rows that have already been processed and only process the rows that were in error. So we designed this so that a user could manage the transactions for the spreadsheets that go through. It doesn't have to be an IT function. We have some extra things built in that make it a little more practical to work with spreadsheets. As we started doing spreadsheets, users said, well, can I do this? Can I do that? So we started building things in. One of the things we build in is a conversion tables, and we could use a conversion table to do a simple thing like if it says no or yes on the spreadsheet, convert that to a Boolean value, which is what System-Link likes, and that's could be a 1 or a 0 or a true or false. So the conversion table could be that simple. It could also be if you're doing it, converting a customer, say you bought a company and you're converting customers in, you could set up a conversion table that has what the customer number was in the old system and what it is in the new system. So we got a lot of flexibility there. We can also set up phantom columns in our spreadsheet. So if I go here, demo accept Dan, and I want to default a value. So it's not, the value's not on the spreadsheet, but I want to send it to System-Link anyhow. So for phantom columns, we assign those a number, and then we might put department, and I'm going to click that off. And then I can put a department number here as the default value, and then that will get passed with System-Link to the item revision object. We got a lot of other goodies built in. That we can use. We can default special values like today's date or the user that's doing the transactions, or a lot of other things. We can do, with the toolkit, we can do normal objects that you would think of, like item revisions, customers. We can create customer orders, purchase orders. We can also do transactions, and I'm excited about this one. So we can do, there's a whole set of inventory transactions. These are the ones that I've become aware of so far, but Infor is working hard to get every inventory type transaction into PowerLink, so we don't have to fool around with off-tran or TR data anymore. We can do all our inventory transactions through System-Link. And our customers use the toolkit for 3 types of things. One is they'll set up a spreadsheet and say, okay, here's your spreadsheet, and they'll pre-map it, and then you just fill in what you want and drag the spreadsheet in, and the toolkit will process it as long as you put keep everything in the columns that I've specified. We can also a lot of our customers use the toolkit for one-offs. So accounting or customer service comes with you with a spreadsheet of customers. We want to change their, I don't know, their pricing or whatever. And we can, because it's so easy to map these spreadsheets, we can pull that off, map that spreadsheet and process it as a one-off. The other thing we use that customers use this for is for conversions. So we have one customer in particular that buys a lot of companies, and then they need to bring that company's data into XA so they can export the data from the other system onto spreadsheets, map it all into XA and process it through. And that works very well for that. And because we're doing everything through System-Link, we only get good data into XA, data that follows all the business rules that XA sets up. We can also do host jobs and host reports. A host job and a host report appear over here. So we can call these from the System-Link Toolkit also. Now, in the toolkit, we can set up, everything processes in batch, and it processes through what we call System-Link Toolkit queues. They're not job queues, they're actually data queues. And because of the nature of System-Link, a data queue processes a lot more efficiently. So in the load settings, when we set up the load settings for the spreadsheet, we can specify some things. And the main one is the toolkit, the toolkit queue that this transaction is going to go through. And we have the ability in the toolkit to set up, to add other queues. So we can add, in here, the toolkit ships with the SLTK QUE, which is a default, and a Dropbox monitor. And then these other queues have been created from here, from PowerLink. We just click create and it'll create a new queue. This autonomous queue right here, look, it has 5 monitors. That means it can process 5 System-Link documents at the same time. So as you saw when we were processing the group, System-Link wasn't all that fast, but to get around that, we can set up multiple queues and adjust where each load setting goes, which queue it goes to. If accounting, it keeps coming to you with huge spreadsheets that take a half an hour to process, we can set up a special queue for accounting and send all their stuff there. If we have a lot of little transactions and we want to speed them through, we can add monitors so that everything that goes to that queue will process simultaneously up to the number that we have specified. We have one customer that just down in Jamaica that just sends tons of customer orders and other transactions through. I think they have 10 or 12 queues set up for customer orders, so they're creating that many at a time. Check my script here. The other thing we can do is on the load setting, we can specify that we want to use the submitter's credentials, and that's the default. That's what most people want to do. So whoever submitted the spreadsheet, that's who it will show up as a create user or change user. As Randy mentioned, we can process atomically. That's the spreadsheet we looked at where we're doing one transaction at a time. If we're doing a customer order or a purchase order or a bill of material, we send that to System-Link as one big document, and we do transaction processing. And what that says is the whole document has to pass without errors, or none of the document is processed. So we don't wind up with an order with a missing line and nobody caught that. Yeah. We can also set up an owner, and an owner is a department. Here's a list of owners we have on this system. And with the owner, we can do a couple things. One, we can control who gets email if there is an error in the group. So the email we saw that was sent to me on the group we processed, we set that up in the owner object. Let's see here, owners. Owners have players. So people in here that are going to get the email. The other thing we can do with owners is we can set up a workspace. A workspace is everything we're looking at is pretty much standard in PowerLink. We can set up a workspace, and in that workspace we can control which groups are displayed. I didn't want to do that because my little doohickey over the right gets, okay. So what's the owner here? Change. Oh, so the owner is demo CSR. So this spreadsheets, this workspace has been set up so everything the processes goes through as a group. So this workspace says only show me those groups that are owned by owner. And we also set up in the workspace so that when we first open this, we only see errors. That's typically all we're concerned about. If it went through, that's fine. If there's an error, we have to deal with it. But I can switch to all records. Oh, we haven't sent any through that don't have errors. Let's look at this one. So all records. Yeah, so we see some of these went through, but most of them have errors. And most of them have errors because we're doing development over here. That's how we learn what we're doing here. Now, we have metrics. Everything is tracked. So if we look at a group, we can see logs, when the spreadsheet was read and when it was processed, when the group ran and when it was processed, how long it took, and each transaction is traced also. So we don't lose anything. It's not like, oh, we had an error and the whole spreadsheet got lost and nobody knows what happened to it. We never lose anything in the toolkit. Now we develop these mappings, but you typically would develop the mappings, the objects, and the load settings in test, and then you want to move it to production. So we have a definitions object, and in here you can pick anything that you've created or updated, whether it's a group, a load, a conversion table, relationship, anything. We can pick those, export them to a save file, and then import them into production. So you don't want to be able to key in it all over again. Oh, when I was talking about metrics, we not only trace detail, but we trace volume. So we can see, if we look in here, how many transactions went through in a day. We can see a whole month, how many by day. We can do transactions by hour, how many went through each hour for that day. And there you can see that you'll see trends like, wow, most of the transactions went through at 4:30, yeah, or month end, yeah. So we have that. Let's see, export, import. The toolkit comes with a user's guide that documents everything, how to do it, and how to do things you never think of, and it also has install instructions. The install is designed to be easy enough that a user can do the install. It comes with demo samples. So the demos that I've been showing you here, most of these come shipped with the toolkit, so you can look and say, oh, I want to do this. Let's see if somebody's done that before. We have on-continent support, so this is a North American-based product, so if you need support, you don't have to deal with European time zones. And we have little features that explain all the different codes that we have. That's not the one I wanted to do. And we have over 60 users. The toolkit's been around for 15 years or more, so it's a mature product. It has a lot of features that we never even imagined when we first started working with the toolkit. Yeah. Let's see, is there anything else I wanted to show you?
Just mentioned too, Dan, I know the spreadsheet that you showed, was fairly simplistic, but, most customers have very complex spreadsheets that they run through, multiple worksheets to a workbook. You can create items, bills of materials, routings, all from a single workbook. I mean, we have customers and examples that are very complex as far as what you can do. It's very powerful. You can have header detail, I mean, complex objects, all kinds of things.
Yeah, we've developed some add-ons that we ship with the toolkit, some finance features that let you load general ledger rules, LSB transactions. If you're doing converting to FN, we can do entity creation. And we also support account formatting. I had a customer come to me the other day, and they needed to load the new GL account number, and they needed it separate, the parts separated by a dash, but what was on the spreadsheet was 3 different columns. We have a way to do that in the toolkit. We have a license expiration message, so you don't have to worry about running out of license. And so hopefully you don't call us panicking and going, what? Yeah.
Yeah, we do offer, or we suggest 3 days for the implementation, and that includes training, that includes having an example that you, the customer, are looking to do. Usually it's a spreadsheet type thing. It doesn't have to be, but and working with you side by side during those days, so you've got something that's working and you can put into production, when all is said and done, those 3 days.
Yep, exactly. Now we do have some customers that have an IT staff that want to write code that they don't want everything to come from the spreadsheet. We may have a batch type process that we want to kick off a process, like an item revision, an inventory transaction, or even creating customer orders, whatever. And we want to, instead of working with a spreadsheet, we want to programmatically do system-link transactions. And the toolkit actually was originally designed for that. And what we need when we're doing that batch type processing is we need a couple things. We need a file that's going to contain the data that we're going to send to SystemLink, and that would take the place of the spreadsheet. And we also need a program that's going to generate the XML. And for a long time, we taught people how to write those files and write those programs. Just recently, we've added a feature where we actually generate the code for that. And what we do is we create another object. Only this one's not a spreadsheet object. It's a batch type processing. We call it a default object. And we come in here, we select our domain class, just like the spreadsheet. And then we come to the attributes. And in here, we can go through the attributes and assign field names. So you just come up with any field name that makes sense to you. And these are the field, this matches our spreadsheet. So we have the field names here, and the source is where the data is coming from. And it might be coming from, in this case, it's coming from the item revision object, but it also could be a constant, or it could be some other field name or expression. And then we have an option here to generate source, and we can generate the source code for the file and for the XML generation program. And we can generate that as either an SQL table or DDS. We can generate it as free format, entirely free format RPG, or a hybrid you might be more used to, where the calcs are all free format and everything else is fixed format. That's what I'm used to, yeah. And then we come over here, and these are all, this has all been generated by the toolkit. So we see here our file, the matches what we did on the spreadsheet. That's our file, and we just compile it. And this is the XML generation program. And the toolkit uses a set of procedures that are contained in a service program that make it a little easier, makes it a lot easier to write this code, but we even went a step further and let the toolkit write it. And then we can process that through. So if I go to demo, item demo, we're gonna do site 000, and we're going to run that group through. See, it's created a new group, 9382, and we're processing the group. And we can come in and see how it's doing. We had one error. This is all processed. This is ready to go, but we are working on it. Yeah. Now, the toolkit, to run the toolkit, all you need on your PC is PowerLink. So we install this to PowerLink. We import integrator objects, and then you don't have to go around to each user that wants to use this and install anything on their PC. So if they have PowerLink, they have access to this. Oh, there's my error message here. And
Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
Just say, Dan, before you move off that screen, one of the questions is, can you show how to import a bill of material, a BOM? And I noticed one of your groups there, 372, is a BOM upload. I don't know if, I know kind of putting you on the spot here, but if that's,
Oh, it does that make sense?
does it have anything in it?
Yeah. We could set up a demo to do a BOM, but
Yeah.
basically, yeah. Let me see here. Oh, I can look real quick.
Yeah. So, Kimberly, if we don't have anything we can show you right here, we can certainly arrange a private demo to walk through that with you. It's not that difficult.
Right. Oh, let's see here. Bill. I should have gone Bill. Oh, here, BOM. Material spreadsheet. BOM. So it has has a BOM detail and a BOM header. Yeah, I off the top of my head, I don't have one available, but
Right.
I know there's one out there that I could demo.
Yep.
Yeah, we have customers that do that all the time, and they do it. And I have some customers put the headers on one sheet and detail on another sheet, and then we can also do everything on one sheet. But the challenge with the BOM is we have to create the header and the detail. So if we're doing a bill of material from a spreadsheet and you have all the components listed with the parents on the left, the toolkit has the ability to break on the parent. So whenever it changes, it creates a new header. Not sure if that makes sense. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, we showed you the drop box for processing a group. Another option is just to create the group like this. And this one has its advantages, and you don't have to set up shared folders for the users. So we can go get a spreadsheet, demo, item revision. I want the worksheet, not the comma. Great. And then Wendy sending these. Yeah, and then it goes through and processes that way. So. And it's real simple for users to use. Most people think of System-Link as like an IT function, but I've had more than one customer that had someone in, say, accounting, learn how to map spreadsheets and do it even better than the IT people. Yeah, maybe because they're used to working with spreadsheets. I don't know. But they also understand their database. Yeah. Did I miss anything, Randy?
No, you covered everything. So, again, this being a webinar format, not overly conducive to be interactive. Certainly be glad to set up, specific demos for you and maybe a larger audience, people at your company. If you've got specific examples of what you're looking to do, we can certainly address those in a more personalized manner. So I don't see any other questions or chats. Give people a second here. If you've got anything, go ahead and drop it in there now. We've got about a little over 10 minutes left, but you will get a recording of the webinar, so you'll have that as a follow-up. And if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to Dan or myself. Let me make myself presenter again. So you've got our info. Let's see. Oh, I guess it does not have our emails on here. So anyway, when the follow-ups will come from Wendy Broom, and in that she will have the email addresses for Dan and myself and how to reach us. So don't see anything else coming through, Dan. I think we're good. I really appreciate everyone's time this morning, I guess, depending on where you're at. And like I said, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be glad to answer any questions you might have on our Toolkit product. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.